Hello and welcome. I am Susan Feeland, an Air Force veteran and founder and president of Academy Women. Academy Women is a 501c3 nonprofit organization launched in 2003 to bring together our community of American military and veteran women leaders from all services and commissioning sources for mentoring, training, and growth opportunities. Our belief is that through community, we achieve our highest potential by sharing research, insights, and lessons learned to help tackle the unique challenges we face as service leaders. Thank you all for joining today. Before I introduce our speakers, I would like to welcome you to also join us for our 2025 Officer Women Leadership Symposium, our OWLS virtual series, with events held monthly. Also, for a fun evening, join us for a special pregame panel discussion and networking event we are hosting with the Washington Mystics for Salute to Service Night starting at 5 p.m. on July 29th in Washington, D.C. If you are considering a career transition or know somebody who is, be sure to explore our career transition tab on our website, www.militaryls.org. We are especially proud to offer you free access to our virtual engagement center, which is a 24/7 always-on platform where members of the military community can gain access to important resources, register for upcoming events, and connect through asynchronous text, audio, and video chats with hiring managers of top-tier military-friendly organizations like GE Aerospace. We hope you will join us in person or virtually for the 2025 Career Coaching Workshop on November 7th in Arlington, Virginia. This event gives you an opportunity to gain access to resources, meet with hiring managers, participate in workshops, and engage in discussions designed to help you advance professionally both in the military and beyond. Men and women are all invited, and military spouses are also a part of our community. So let's kick off today's webinar series. To start, I would like to share this disclaimer. It is my pleasure to welcome GE Aerospace as our presenting partner discussing how GE Aerospace impacts the world and where you can fit in. GE Aerospace and GE have stood in support of Academy Women's mission since 2010. We are so grateful to have this amazing team of presenters with us today. I'm honored to welcome Nicole Foster, an Air Force veteran and Mobility Sales Director at GE Aerospace, Laena Burns, Executive Supply Chain Inventory Leader at GE Aerospace, Christin Burrows, an Air Force Reserves Major and Delivery Leader at GE Aerospace, Amanda Dolsen, an Army veteran and Cost Leader at GE Aerospace, Jennifer Murphy, Senior Global Talent Acquisition Leader at GE Aerospace, and Nyapaula Washington, an Air Force veteran and Senior Technical Product Manager at GE Aerospace. We have a real treat planned for you today, so let's get started. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed presenters to the virtual stage. Enjoy the discussion, everyone. Nicole, over to you.
Good afternoon, Susan, and good afternoon to all that have joined the Officer Women's Leadership Symposium. Thank you to Academy Women for having us. First, we're going to start off with a video showing you the cool things we do at GE Aerospace.
Behind every takeoff, every overstuffed suitcase, and every pre-flight walk-around, there's you. You who are literally building the engines and systems that propel the world forward. You who are meticulous, committed to quality, securing each part with precision and expertise. You build the future of aerospace. You've been the driving force behind good times and the support during turbulent times. Now, the world needs you to lift it up again, to put more than 100 years of experience to work and transform our industry for a whole new era. You invent the future of flight. You lift people up and bring them home safely. You are GE Aerospace.
This is GE Aerospace. We invent the future of flight and lift people up and bring them home safely. And literally do that every day. Every 2 seconds, an aircraft with a GE engine or engine technology is taking off somewhere in the world. And 75% of the takeoffs are powered by GE technology. And right at this moment, 900,000 people are flying on GE powered technology. And also this moment and the next moment. So that the sheer scale of what GE Aerospace touches every day is nearly 44,000 engines on their commercial business. Not only that, but we power the world's military fleet. 2/3 of the US fighter fleet is powered by GE. 2/3 of the US helicopter fleet is powered by GE. One half of the bomber fleet is powered by GE, and 75%, 3/4 of the gas turbines that power the US Navy are powered by GE. So the scale is enormous. And not only that, but we have a pretty large national footprint. So take a look at the screen, maybe think about where you are in our universe. Um, our big headquarters is in Cincinnati, Ohio. You see on our website that it'll say Evendale, Ohio, which is a small suburb just to the north of Cincinnati. We have a huge presence in Dayton, a big presence in Boston, at Lynn, Massachusetts, big presence in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then there are other sites, big ones in Asheville, Jacksonville, many places on the map that maybe you've been stationed nearby, in like a Durham, close to in North Carolina, or even Strother, Kansas, where we support our military customers. So it's a big footprint of where we are nationally. And let's talk a little bit about our culture. We are purpose-driven people. We work very hard to invent the future of flight, lift people up, and bring them home safely. But we believe in leadership behaviors that are very similar to the US military. We have a respect for people. We want to continuously improve every day, and we are very customer-driven, and that is our focus. We foster an environment where an employee has an equal chance to reach their potential, and we offer an abundance of opportunities for career growth and learning. We've received several awards. In 2024, we were the gold medallion winner by the Department of Labor. In 23, we have accolades from both Newsweek and US Veterans Magazine. And again, we're so happy to be here with you today. I'm Nikki Foster. I'm your MC for the day. I'll introduce myself. I'm a US Air Force veteran. I served in the US Air Force for 12 years on active duty as a KC-10 pilot. And then I came over to GE over 9 years ago, and now I serve as the mobility sales director in our defense and systems business. So the same engines that I flew for the US Air Force, now I get to sell the future of engines to my same mobility brothers and sisters who are out there flying and risking their lives every day. So I have a deep bench of talent here before me. We're just going to go left to right, starting with Nyapaula and then going all the way to Laena. Nia, are you there? We'd love for you to introduce yourself and share some of your background and what brought you to GE.
I'm still traveling, but I can hop on camera if you need me to.
No, good. Keep going. You can be on audio.
Okay. So my name's Nicole Washington. I served in the Air Force for 14 years and 10 days. Um, I was an electronic warfare officer and combat systems officer on the AC-130 gunship. I had the opportunity to do a DoD skill bridge internship with GE. That's how I became a part of the team.
Thanks, Nia. All right, Amanda, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Dolsen. I'm a former Army officer. I was in logistics. I did that for 8 years on active duty. I joined GE by way of MALP, so the Military Officer Leadership Program. Worked out really well. I was getting my master's in supply chain management since I had decided that's really what I wanted to do in terms of logistics and whatnot, transitioning out of the military. And I got the opportunity to start working in supply chain with GE. So I just rolled off program and now I'm in my full-time role.
Excellent, Amanda. Thank you for joining us. Christin, you're up next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Christin Burrows. I came to GE after 12 years in the Air Force, 10 active, 2 active reserve, all as a medical planner. And I also came through, like Amanda, came to GE through the Military Officer Leadership Program. So did 3 8-month rotations before landing in my current role, more permanent role. And I am still in the Air Force. I'm trying to balance both. It's a little tricky at sometimes, but GE is super, super supportive for reservists. So been doing that since I joined GE 2.5 years ago, and 6 years, 5-6 years left. So hoping to finish it out at 20.
Thanks, Christin. I'd love to hear how all 4 of us have, separated or continue to serve. And it's always good to hear your story, Christin, about how you continue to support the reserves and your GE career. I did the same as what we called an inactive reservist for some time. I did 9 years as well while I was serving at GE. So it can be done for those of you who are separating on the phone. while you continue to work at GE, and the company is very supportive. So thank you, Christin, for sharing that personal story with us. And then I wanted to also introduce our fierce veteran advocates and our esteemed hiring managers and talent team. Jennifer, why don't you go first?
So my name's Jennifer Murphy. I'm one of the talent acquisition leaders in GE Aerospace. I've been with GE for over 13 years through a few of the different businesses. And my team handles part of the hiring that they handle is the Military Officer Leadership Program, which you see the MOLP alum, along with the DoD Skill Bridge program. And so I come from a very veteran grandfather, father, brother, cousins have all served. So big veteran family. Well, I was not called to serve myself, but a big advocate for hiring our veterans.
Thanks, Jennifer. And Laena, please share your background with the team.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I am Laena Burns. I am the supply chain inventory leader at GE Aerospace. In addition to that, I am a hiring leader. So, I'm a people leader of teams. I'm also currently managing our military officer leadership program specifically for our supply chain division. Today, I'm happy to report we have 10 military officer leadership program members participating in our supply chain program, which has been a very long journey to hit those numbers, but we're very happy to have that. The Military Officer Leadership Program is a 2-year program. So on this program, I help our members get diverse rotations and experiences throughout supply chain on 3 rotations and assignments, with the target of launching them into their full-time careers within GE Aerospace. We do target supply chain, but should they find their passion someplace else in GE Aerospace, we promote that as well. But I'm very happy to be here and happy to talk a little bit about some of our hiring and veteran advocacy that we do at GE Aerospace.
Thank you so much. This panel just continues to wow me with the different backgrounds that the team has, and it's exciting to be here with you today. So I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen so you guys can see us kind of in your full picture a little bit easier. And I'd love to see some of the teams in chat that are sharing their backgrounds with us too. It's great to hear where everybody's coming from. So keep up the engagement on the chat as well, folks. So we're going to pivot our discussion a little bit today about talking about behaviors and how we've seen some of our military veterans transition from the U.S. military to coming into our company. Like I mentioned before, our values are respect for people, continuous improvement, and that we are customer driven for our behaviors we like to see in our employees. Some of these things I've seen like a common thread between our time in the military, right? Duty, honor, country, or excellence in all we do, integrity first, service before self. Every single branch has these values, but in many ways they tie to how people can continue to serve our customers, our communities at GE Aerospace. Laena, I know you've said that you've got 10 military officer on your program in supply chain. How do you see some of your veterans who have transitioned out of the service, connect with these behaviors, and where do you see that common thread between their old lives and what they're doing at GE now?
Yeah, so let's start with respect for people. So respect for people is one of our values and behaviors that resonates very deeply with me. In my experience, I've seen firsthand how fostering a culture of respect leads to stronger collaboration, certainly much greater trust, and then overall just really good organizational health. So when I look for candidates who demonstrate this value or behavior, I am looking for candidates who have demonstrated empathy or active listening, have a collaborative mindset, because those are the types of attitudes that ensure we can work effectively with diverse teams, which is something we're very strong at GE Aerospace, and continue to contribute to that respectful and inclusive environment. Another one of our behaviors is the continuous improvement. And that, for me, really looks at how are we continuing to refine our processes little by little? How are we learning from our challenges, and how are we driving to get better just a little bit every day, every week, till we meet our target condition? as a business, we are going through significant change, both large changes, but also rate of change. So think volume of changes are very high. When organizations prioritize continuous improvement, they are able to demonstrate their resiliency while working through these changes. Therefore, when I look at candidates who are transitioning out of the military and that they've been able to demonstrate a strong continuous improvement mindset, those are individuals who have demonstrated curiosity. They're open to feedback. They're proactive in identifying opportunities for improvement. And they absolutely have to have a passion for problem solving, because we are problem solving all the time at GE Aerospace. And then the last one that I'll just mention is certainly our success is measured by our customers. So it doesn't surprise me that customer mindset or customer driven is one of our last behaviors and values that we have here at GE. So when I also look for candidates, it's individuals who are results driven, have demonstrated the ability to drive significant change and results, and use the customer focus to retain like detail oriented plans, and are committed to delivering high quality results in everything they do. But yeah, so that just kind of rounds it out of like how I see it and what I look for.
Oh, Laena, I just love it. And I think that you've touched on so many things that make for a good leader in the U.S. military, right? To lead your troops into combat, to engage with people on a global stage, right? We've had humanitarian efforts, in Eastern Europe. We've had support of the conflict in the Middle East lately. And you can't get anything done unless you're able to pull in your team and get them to work at their top level of efficiency. And quite frankly, as a former pilot, like, you've got to be able to know like how you're performing, and that openness to feedback, right? Am I high? Am I low? Am I fast? Am I slow? And we can't afford in this business, and something that's so critical as aviation, to lag and to not be ready for feedback and be trying to get better every day. So I loved how you brought in that continuous improvement, because it was kind of part of my DNA as I was leaving active duty. And you really touched on how those little bits of improvement, that excellence in all we do, that will move mountains in the future. So thank you for kind of covering all that for us. Now I'd like to dig into a little bit, like, how do you find the best talent out there, and what are we looking for? So I've got Jennifer on the line. She's our talent acquisition specialist. And Laena, you've hired some folks. Can you both, please share with me, and let's have a discussion about, what your conversations are like with recruits, and how do you help them find them the right role at GE? Jennifer, I'd like to start with you. Like, what kind of dialogue do you have with incoming talent in this space?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different places we go to find that talent. So I'd like to highlight, and Mackenzie, if you could drop it in the chat now, but we have, my team specifically supports MOLP and SkillBridge. We also have two people that specifically support military hiring through our direct hire pipeline, right? So we are a big veteran advocacy hiring organization. Thank you, Mackenzie. If you want to click on that link for everybody in the chat, that will take you directly to be able to express your interest, and then you can reach out, or one of the focals will reach out to you with regards to your interest. But so starting there, we're in a lot of different places. We're in Hire Our Heroes events. We're at bases. We're at different specific like Wounded Warrior events. We are pretty much everywhere that our vets are at, right? And so it just depends on where we're at, how those conversation goes. So we've been at MBA conferences, we've been at SAC, right? So with that, we're talking about, okay, now that you're getting out of the military, where are you wanting to be located, right? Because that's a big thing as you're exiting the military, is you could be located one place, but when you exit the service, you have a desire to relocate. Like, I know my brother, when he got out, he was in California and he wanted to get back to Texas, right? So we really dig into where's the location, right? Then it's around, what did you do in the military? Like, explain to me your time in the military, explain to me your skill sets. And one of the things I just want to quickly touch on is that, thinking about how you explain your skill set is ensuring that if you're talking to a civilian, is kind of think through what the military jargon is and try to transfer that into civilian jargon, because a lot of times it loses this effectiveness of what you actually did during your time in the military versus what for-profit companies phrase and name things. So we'll dig into that. Where do you want to go? Do you have a desire to continue your education? Are you getting certain certifications? So we hire a lot of A&P technicians, but in the military, they don't actually get their certification. So we have an apprenticeship program where they can work for us while Ohio is paying for their certification, and their time in the military serves as them attending those classes, right? So there's a lot of different ways that we work with veterans to bring them into the organization, but really it's around understanding, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And how does that align with the work that we have? And so Nikki calls out a lot, when you look at like she flew, look at the engines, my brother was in the Navy, ships that he was on were powered by GE Aerospace. So things like that, like you really want to make that correlation. But truly it's about coming prepared to really discuss, what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to impact? Or you want to be in commercial engines? Are you thinking about, like, I had a technical role, I understand technical aspects in the military and I want to go into sales. Do I want to go into cybersecurity, which we have a very large DT organization. And as we've separated, that organization has grown because that aspect moved from corporate to now GE Aerospace owns it. So, and our DT organization aligns to each part of the business. So we have a great supply chain division. We have a defense and systems division. There's a lot of different aspects. I mean, GE is a 52,000 employee company. So I really suggest that do your homework, get with an organization. This is like one of the first things that Nikki will do when a vet connects with them is, let's look at your resume. Okay. Get with this organization that offers free services to veterans on how to write their resume. So I always ask, like, if you're going to come to me in an event and just go, well, I don't know what I want to do, that's not helpful, right? Like, we're looking for people that have done their homework, understand what we do as a big company, and understand what they want to do going forward, right? You can say, I'm not entirely sure how I fit in the organization, but I'm just saying, try to do a little bit of homework. And most people do, but I just like to call that out because some people will go, I just don't know. And that's okay. But like, dig in a little bit, do a little bit of homework, and just kind of figure out how you fit into the company, because you'd be very shocked how much military work, like I said, defense and system, commercial engines, supply chain fulfillment. Think of all the operations. We have program management, project management, like cybersecurity, like another person indicated. We have the whole across every piece, welders, field service reps, which we hire a lot of people from the military in our field service reps because they're used to traveling quite a bit. And that's something that people in the military are used to doing, right? We have our dowdy business, which is almost 90% staff military. We have several sites that are almost 75% military. So we are a very military friendly organization. And it just, again, it encompasses the whole gamut of what we hire for. But, you can start with the link that Mackenzie put in the chat. Do a little bit of research on our organization. That link that she put in the chat will take you to our career page. And like I said, we have different pipelines. We have MOLP, which is our military officer leadership program. We have SkillBridge internship program. And then we have a direct hire where we have Mackenzie and T. T couldn't be here today, but they focus on bringing veterans into all of our other roles, be it in the hourly or the professional salary space. So I might have gone a little long-winded, but hopefully that kind of covered, and I was keeping an eye on chat. So hopefully, I know Mackenzie keeps putting the link in there. Okay.
Yeah, Jennifer, actually, this might be a good time, since you've already started covering some of our transition. Let's show the presentation and show what we have to offer for our transitioning veterans. So I'll go back to the PowerPoint real quick.
Perfect. And then it looks like Susan went ahead and put the link, because it appears that Mackenzie, it wasn't available to everybody. So if you can check out Susan's ping in the chat, that has the link.
Can you see a military officer leadership program slide now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so since Laena already mentioned it with her support of supply chain, why don't you talk us through what makes you eligible? Because we've talked about a few MOLP alum being on the call. And we keep saying MOLP. It's just an easier way for us to say a four-word acronym. Do you want to talk a little bit about this program, Jennifer, and maybe walk us through this page?
Yeah. And so I will say that we, just like the military likes acronyms, we at GE Aerospace like acronyms. So if you are looking to join us, please get familiar with acronyms. But it's our military officer leadership program. And so that does mean that you do need to be an officer. And so it's a 2-year program. And so we have 5 different divisions of the business that currently participate. So our commercial engines business, our defense and systems business, our supply chain business, engineering, and our digital technologies business. So it's you get to work in 3 different functions in 8-month rotations. And so it is absolutely an accelerated learning program. But I would actually like to hear from somebody that either is division champ or a MOLP talk a little bit more in depth, because it's one thing to hire for it, but it's another to actually live and breathe it. So can I pivot? And
yeah, let's have so we've got a person in each spot who have participated, and we have a hiring manager. So what we could start with is, let's have Laena talk a little bit more about supply chain and how she supports that division. And then Amanda just graduated from a supply chain program. And then Christin and I will go last and talk about commercial engine services. How about that? So let's start with Laena and then Amanda.
Yeah, so I had mentioned it a little bit, but as a division champ for MOLP in supply chain, all of the roles that my 10 program members would participate in are supply chain focused. So consider their roles are either in procurement and supplier management or in materials management. So individuals are either doing buying and procurement or strategic supplier management, or they're either doing something around forecasting and demand planning, configuration management, or fulfillment and delivery. All of those roles are specifically targeted in order to create competencies that we like to build to make them as competitive as possible for when they are competing for their, career launch into the business. And all of the roles are 8 months in duration. I worked really heavily with Jennifer. I think, gosh, it's this year's flying by, but at the very beginning of the year, we kind of did like a stand down and said, Jennifer, we need a new plan, right? Like on how we're going to recruit and hire and interview this talent. And it's worked out really well, which is why I'm so happy to report the number that I have today around having 10 MOLPs within supply chain. And that's just a number we want to continue to support. So these 10 individuals are going to be going through rotational programs within supply chain for the next 2 years. And we're kind of building out the standard work to say, once you finish your 2 years, we're not done with you yet, right? Like we're still investing in you to make sure that we find the right opportunity for you. So a lot of those career conversations are happening right now with some of my program members on what do you want to do next? Where do you want to work? What are your values? And how do some of the jobs that we currently have to offer align with those values? And how do we seek out the right promotion, the right people leader for you? So those are just some of the instances, some conversations that Amanda and I had maybe, just 4 months ago before she found her full-time job. So
I love it, Laena. Thank you. And let's talk a little bit about the folks that you've filled in those supply chain roles, because it may not be clear and apparent to everyone on the call. So I know, Amanda, you mentioned that you had a logistics background. Can you talk a little bit, Amanda, how you pivoted from your logistician days to supply chain? Because they're the same thing, really. It's just different language from the military to GE. Can you talk through that a little bit, Amanda?
Yeah, I think honestly, one of the first things that I would highlight is the ability to work with people. You're working with suppliers, you're working with all these different external entities, just like you would be working with when you're in the military, trying to plan for supply chain and logistics operations, like regardless of how you're moving equipment, you're doing that when you're at GE as well. So that's been really beneficial. I never really thought that I would end up in supply chain, but like once I decided that like, hey, maybe I want to do this when I get out of the military. If I get out of the military, it's going to be a really good stable option for me. I decided to invest in myself and was able to go to grad school for it at the same time, and that was also extremely helpful to me. Learning a different side, like the more civilian side and business aspect of supply chain management and the ability to apply it to GE. But yeah.
Excellent. And so just what did you get your master's in? What was how does it tie into what you're doing? Because it's really great that you invested in yourself and wanted to further your education.
It's funny that you asked that. So I did get my master's in supply chain management. And it's really interesting that I ended up landing in CMCs. So for people who don't know what CMCs are, they're ceramic matrix composites, and they're an extremely up and coming like method of building parts for our aircraft. They can withstand extremely high temperatures, and they help fuel efficiency. And I actually focused on my research paper for the end of my whole 2-year program on CMCs. And so I ended up, it was wild, but I ended up in the role that I'm in now. So I kind of like was trying to like meander over to that space the whole time that I was in there. But using a lot of the stuff that I feel has applied is the focus on learning about value stream management. A ton of that in grad school. Lean is something that we focus on a lot. And obviously GE is extremely into flight deck, and that's our lean operating system. And so like I came into GE knowing a little bit more than I would have had I not done that. It's not as much focus on in the military. So that was really helpful.
Excellent, Amanda. Thank you for sharing. And one other big thing, you talked about fuel efficiency for CMCs, but the most impressive to me as a ex-aviator was just seeing the difference in weight between a CMC material and a conventional, more metallic material.
Yeah,
What,
they're
a third of the weight? I mean, a 66% weight reduction completely changes aviation when you're able to scale that. So anyway, those are the cool technologies that Amanda was talking about. And, you know, as a very stick and rudder aviator, to me, it's like, if I can reduce weight, I'm happy, right? It helps me go farther. So, appreciate that, Amanda. Christin, I know you just wrapped up your MOLP rotations in commercial engines and services. I'm also an alum from that program. Can you just share how you tied what you did in the Air Force to the your time at commercial engines, and then you just graduated and landed your full-time role? So do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So I was trying to Jen's point of trying to figure out where you want to be in the business. I kind of wrestled with that. And in the end, I landed on, I'm still in the military. I do a lot around defense, always have. I joined when I was 17. Like, I've been doing it over half my life. So I said, I'm going to go do something completely different and go to commercial engines. So when you think commercial engines, it's the engines that are under wing whenever you fly, just as an everyday passenger out there on name an airline. So I thought that was really intriguing, and I got hired into that division. And I had kind of a unique experience. So it was really, really wonderful. Did the 3 rotations. My first one, speaking of emerging technologies, I was working in actually the same engine line that I ended up in for my permanent role that I'm in now. I started there on our additive technologies, like our 3D printed parts that we put in engines. So that was very, very interesting. And then I did kind of a unique assignment overseas in one of our overhaul shops in the UK. And so that's where we take engines apart. After they've been on wing for a few years, we'll take them off. We'll take it down to the piece part, look at every part, replace the parts, put it all back together, and send it back to the airline to keep flying for another however many years. So I was in a shop where we do that. Mm-hmm.
Just to jump in. So you said the UK. So where were you? Like, I think I remember Wales. Did you get to watch a rugby game or a football match? We call it soccer. Like, you lived over there for how long?
I was actually over there a little over 8 months because it was a move. We kind of adjusted the timing a bit, but yeah, went to Wales. My husband came with me. Very kind of unique experience, but plenty of rugby, even more football. My husband loves soccer. He's played in college. That's his thing. So he joined like 5 leagues and went crazy. And
cool.
Yeah, it was a really good time. And the experience of being in the shop, because here in Cincinnati, I'm in an office building. Like, there's nothing. Right. I travel quite a bit to shops, but just being every day in a shop was amazing.
Yeah.
And then and then I came back and I was in a more contracts, like maybe a little bit more kind of corporate environment, like doing financials and contracts. And it was okay. It was a good experience, but it helped me learn, like, no, I really want to do something tangible. I want to be around the parts. I want to be around the engines. Kind of brought me back to where I am. And to answer your question about how my military experience translated. It's funny because it feels in the moment like it doesn't sometimes, because I'm a medical planner. Like, what do I know about 3D printed parts? The answer is not a lot. But I'm a quick learner, as I'm sure everyone on this call is. And I think I found that my ability to like see bigger picture, connect the dots, and like just it doesn't sound like a skill, but it really, really is. The skill of realizing that the people over here need to talk to the people over here and the people over here, and like putting them all in a same, being the person to be like, you all need to be in the same room so that we can solve a problem. I think sometimes in an engineering business, it's easy for people to get so caught up in the details that they forget like the broader strategic picture and communicating across the organization. And so I think that that's a skill set coming from the military that I didn't realize I had so strongly as I do. If that makes sense.
I love it, Christin. Thanks for sharing. And then I'll round out, talking about our different parts of the business. And just for those on the phone that may not be eligible for MOLP, we're just trying to touch on all the different businesses and how our skills could connect. So you don't have to be in MOLP to be able to connect with these stories that we're sharing. But I'm currently in defense and systems. And yes, I came from the KC-10 world where I flew commercial engines, which are basically, I flew a wide body aircraft that is all intents and purposes a jetliner. But I'm over in the defense and systems business now, where we support the helicopters, the fighter businesses, and we have 3 MOLPs in that program right now, and they're all doing rotations in our classified space. We call it Edison Works. They're doing work in sales and supporting our deal factory for new business. And then another rotation over in competitive intelligence, where they're learning more about the other guy and how we can be better than our competition. So just some cool things going on in defense and systems, and future programs to support the U.S. military is our primary customer over at defense and systems. So I'm going to keep moving, and let's talk a little bit about SkillBridge, Jennifer. Why don't you share with us what SkillBridge is? And then I'd love for Nia to talk about how she transitioned from the U.S. Air Force to GE through SkillBridge. So go ahead, Jennifer, you're first, and then Nia will pull you in next.
Perfect. So this is my baby. Nick and I've known each other a long time, and we are part of an initial hiring group that pushed this through C-level chats, getting our MOU signed. So this is like literally my baby in GE, but we're so proud of the work that we've done here. So SkillBridge is a DoD statute that basically states that any approved program partners, which is what GE Aerospace is, can bring on basically a job training internship for a departing service member. And it could be up to 180 days of service. Typically, we see about 4 months that they can do an internship with us. And so just like it sounds, SkillBridge is bridging that skill from the time in military to the public sector, right? And we typically have about 30 plus SkillBridges that we bring on a year. And then our hiring ratio to convert them to a full-time employee is over 80%. So that's a number that I'm really proud of, because not only are
That's
we
insane. Can you say that again? You said 80.
Yes. And
right?
So it's just over 80%. Because we fluctuate between like 82, 85. So I just say over 80%. But this just really shows how much we value the veteran, right? And Nyapaula can talk about her experience because she was an intern with us, where that's where the military still maintains your pay and benefits, but she was working for us full time in an internship role. And then we offered her a full time position. So as she was exiting and going through terminal leave, she had an offer in hand, right? And we know that this directly impacts the unemployment rate for our exiting service members. And I am so pleased with the way that we've been able to partner with this program the last 4 years and really navigate that journey with our veterans. So Nepal, I'll leave it up to you to talk about your experience, because you intimately felt this and went through this.
Yeah, Nia, you on?
Thank you, Jennifer. So I separated from the Air Force back in July of 2023. I had kind of a game plan as I was making my exit, like, okay, I want to separate by this time. I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm a Jill of all trades, master of some. So my bachelor's degree was in civil engineering. My master's was in construction management, but I was an aviator. So what do I do next? So I kind of I took advantage of TAP. I did that early on in my transition. Started working on my resume, got more active on LinkedIn. I had a profile that I hadn't used since like 2015. So updated that and just started to see what opportunities were out there. And GE kept popping up. I saw MOLP, and then I saw some SkillBridge opportunities. I applied to both. I got an answer from DoD SkillBridge sooner, so I took that route. Um, and I did about 5 months. Time as an intern. And I'd say about halfway through, my people leader did a lot of feedback sessions with me, a lot of one-on-ones to see how things were going, how I was progressing, what I was learning. And I'd say about halfway through, she asked me, so what do you want to do next? And I was like, I can, see myself working for GE. I love the company culture. They're very military friendly. And after that point, it was a matter of networking. I tried to make a good name for myself as an intern, and as a result, she was able to shop my name around, and I was able to land a few interviews, and that's kind of my path to getting hired on full time. By the time my internship was over, I had done about 3 interviews. Um, and I had about a month of terminal leave. And by the end of my terminal leave, I had an offer letter in hand and started about 2 weeks after my official final out date.
Wow, Nia, I love that story. Can you share a little bit more about like, so you were an aviator like myself, and
Hmm.
now you're in DT's digital technologies. Like, how did you make that pivot? Like, talk a little bit about that side of the business, what customers you support, what your day-to-day is like, because, you know, it is a pivot, but I do think it works really well. Just can maybe dig into that a little more deeply and what the digital side of the business is like.
Sure. So in my role, I'm a technical product manager. I manage the raw materials traceability. So within ETQ, there's a module called Trace, and essentially we wanted to be able to build that digital ecosystem of tracing back engine parts from the finished engine all the way back to the raw material that it was forged from, or that any parts were forged from. Um, so anytime there's a non-conformance, instead of sifting through paperwork, we're
Yeah.
able to digitally go back and track, where that material came from, or where that part or where that engine was shipped off to, what customer is it with, how many parts does this affect. So that's what I work on currently, and I also manage IndieSoft, and that is essentially a software that helps manage gauge and tool calibration
Yeah.
for different shops across GE. And as far as the connection between, going from being an operator to now working on the DT side,
Yeah.
on the operational side, I got to see, okay, I'm flying, and we have an issue in the air, we have to shut down an engine or whatever the case may be. I know on the operational side what we have to do, the steps we have to take to report to maintenance what we saw and write up a report.
Yeah.
Now on the DT side, I see the steps and the actions taken when a non-conforming part or engine is reported. Like, okay, so on the digital side, what do we do? Okay, we go and track QEMs and MRBs and see again where this part was manufactured, where it was shipped to. So it's cool to be able to make that connection now.
Yeah, and when you say MRB, that's like, hey, here's the maintenance write-up. This is what could be better about it. How do we fix it, right?
Correct.
I think that's like literally part of the day-to-day of a lot of people who are in the U.S. military, and so that's why these things I think translate so well. Is that it may not be a big airplane scenario. Now we're down a level to the engine, but then the level of fidelity that we need in the engine to keep it running smoothly. I mean, our engines, thank God, are and the God and the engineering of this fine company, our reliability rate is up to 99.9% for most of our commercial engines, and that's what the customers demand, right? The flying public's flying every day, and in some cases flying over water, and we have to make sure everything is excellent all the time. And that's what Nia is basically describing, is that level of excellence, that level of fidelity, and that digital thread that makes it happen. So thank you, Nia, for kind of tying what you used to do to what you're doing today. It just makes me so proud.
Of course.
Um, what I'd like to talk about a little bit more is to, just also, shine a light on, our mid-career and how we bring people in directly to the company. So this is, my latest success story. Mackenzie and Jennifer can back me up here, but top left corner is a good friend of mine. She was actually at the last Academy Women's webinar that you're participating in right now. She was in your shoes in August of last year, and she got hired in March. Her name is Sarah Emery. She's a fellow Air Force Academy graduate and a maintenance officer, and she is now working on our avionics department in Clearwater, Florida. And she is managing 8 engineers. So I am just incredibly proud that Sarah was brought on board as a direct hire, which is why it's really critical that you see the link on the screen and the link in the chat Mackenzie posted, because not everybody's going to be eligible for SkillBridge and not everyone's going to be eligible for MOLP, but on a regular basis, we are bringing in direct hire candidates for the rest of our roles, which runs the gamut, which is why we spend so much time talking about every different aspect of our business and where you might be able to fit in. So just wanted to highlight that. Now, Jennifer, let's talk a little bit about GE Aerospace and benefits, because I think it's at the top of a lot of people's minds as they're leaving active duty. I was coaching a veteran just yesterday, and he had all kinds of questions about what benefits look like. At first, I just want to share something personal. Like, I was an Air Force pilot, married to another pilot, and life was getting stressful when I left active duty. And I had a preschooler, soon to be a kindergartner, and I was like, I need a more stable life. And GE seemed to meet that stability for me, because I could still take my skills as an aviator to the company and contribute and bring value, but also feel like I had a little bit more work-life balance. And it really has been amazing. I had a baby in 2018, and the company was very supportive of my maternity leave. I even had some health complications before he was born, and the company was super supportive and gave me the time and space I needed to have baby number 2 and grow my family. And my kids are now 15 and 6. So just nothing but great things to say about how I've been able to manage my work-life balance at GE. But Jennifer, do you mind sharing some of your insights on having that conversation with veterans as they transition, and maybe you want to give like a round the horn on what GE has to offer?
Yeah, so we'll just keep it kind of high level, 30-foot view. But I think you really captured upon one of the aspects that is by far, like, I call myself a GEer. It's the culture, it's the people you work with, it's the way they show up every day, the way that they support you, the way that leadership supports you, the continuous learning. It's a big, it's an intangible to me, but it's so important to my mental health. And then also being a working parent as well, it matters so much to have that. And it's a benefit, but it's an intangible benefit. So the tangibles, though, we have good medical, dental, vision, and then pharmacy benefits available. And it's first day of work coverage. So you are absolutely first day of work. You and your dependents are eligible. We also have FSAs and HSAs. Dependent upon you have to sign up for that. One of my favorite things between a work-life balance is we have what's called permissive time off for our salaried employees. And what that means is basically you have the PTO that you need as long as you have your leadership's approval. So for my situation, I will now, so we were saying this about my daughter's in college this year, but so we would take a week at Thanksgiving, a week at Christmas. We take spring break every year, and then we take a holiday during the summer, right? And I always had the flexibility to do that because I had approval from my boss, and I was able to also flex when she needed to go to the doctor, or because she did in her junior year of high school ran into some health issues, and we were at the hospital quite a bit. And so it's just something that's huge. And then with regards to parental leave, we offer up to 10 weeks. That's for mother and father. There's also tuition and adoption assistance, along with we do have some discounts around IVF, which is not listed here. So that's something to consider as well if you're looking to start your family. We do have a 401k and a pre-tax or a Roth after tax. And we do matching contributions, along with life insurance plan for you and your eligible dependents. GE disability benefits, should a medical convention, so FMLA, that sort of thing. We have a healthcare hub, which is a one-stop shop for healthcare tools and resources. There's health coach available 24/7. So you can call in and you can talk to somebody. Do you have a child that's struggling with mental health issues and they're a covered dependent? Do you need to talk to them like that? Are you a smoker and you need to quit? It runs the gamut, right?
Yeah.
So that's all available to you. Along with access to our Fidelity resources. So they provide free one-on-one retirement planning sessions through Fidelity Investments, and then they have a planning and guidance center. And so all of those are eligible to you, along with what we have called is LifeMark. So it is it's a page that we have access to GE employees and their friends, or I'm sorry, their family. But like I could get like discounted tickets to Disney. I could get discounted hotels, discounted Hertz. Like we took a trip and it was cheaper for me to go through my GE LifeMart for Hertz for rental car than it was to not. So some of those benefits that are just so overwhelmingly like amazing. And depending on what your site is, you could have a gym at your site, or you could have gym membership reimbursement. There's a lot of different pieces when it comes to our overall benefits that are very beneficial. But I will just tell you, one of the big things is the work-life balance. Depending on what, branch of the organization you sit in, and having really fruitful conversations with your leadership, it's just a wonderful company to work for. And that's been my experience. And I've worked through a couple of different GE businesses. And I feel like that's one of the intangibles that I like to talk about a lot, because like I said, I'm a GEer. Like I am here for a long time. So I hope that kind of covered it, Nikki.
Yeah, I know. I love it. And, I feel like I'm that way too. I think I'll be at 10 years in 2016. And Laena, how many years will you have served at GE?
Math is hard. More than 15, less than 20, somewhere around there.
Okay, good. Yeah, we don't have to date ourselves too much, because then people start working the numbers and working backwards. But this is right. But yeah, that's kind of what we have to share PowerPoint wise. But I know we do want to leave a few minutes for questions, but there is one aspect that I want to touch on to allow Amanda, Christin, Nia to share. I think what's on the top of a lot of folks' mind is like, why did you separate from the military? Because I think we're all separation ladies. And why is GE Aerospace a good fit for you? So, Christin, this is your first time with Academy Women. Why don't you go first? Why did you separate from the Air Force, and why is GE a good fit?
Sure. It wasn't a super conscious decision for me to separate. I had to leave to take care of family. And I think that made the transition probably a little bit harder for me, because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do on the outside. And I had to really take time to do my research, see what was out there, and a lot of like checking in with myself, like what do I want to do in this next chapter of my life I didn't know I was about to have. So like I kind of shared earlier, I decided I'd go with complete career change, do something all the way different. And I'm really, really happy here. I think just like Jen said, I think for me, GE, who doesn't want to work around engines? It's incredibly interesting, like what we do. There's always a new problem to solve. It feels important. It feels very tangible what we do. And I think, and then I think like Jennifer said, the flexibility, those intangible benefits of like having the autonomy to decide when I'm going to travel, when I'm going to stay home, when do I need to kind of shift my hours a little bit, when do I need to work from home, when do I need to go in the office, like playing by those adult rules, that I think is very GE Aerospace culture and very different than the military. So having that kind of autonomy, I thrive in that environment. So yeah.
Great. No, I love it. And thank you for sharing, because I know you did deal with, some personal hurdles you had to overcome by leaving active duty. And I think that sometimes it's just time, right? Sometimes like the family calls and there's things that maybe we set aside while we were on active duty, and then eventually life happens and you've got to make a pivot, and GE's been a soft place to land for a lot of us. So thank you, Christin, for sharing. I appreciate it. So I know I want to leave a little bit of time for questions, and it looks like the chat has been crazy. I've been sharing my screen, so I haven't been able to see it. Jennifer, I think you're on top of the chat from your responses. Is there any chat that we haven't addressed yet any questions in the chat we haven't addressed yet that we want to address now?
I think just the one hit on the military spouses. So yes, so we absolutely try to be friendly to military spouses as well. Nick kind of covers both. Like not only was she a veteran, but also a military spouse, and we have several of them in the organization, and we understand a lot of the moves and a lot of the job changes due to your spouse's move. And so I think that's one thing. If your spouse, reach out to myself or Mackenzie, who's also in talent acquisition, and hopefully you were able to then see her chat and link. But we absolutely try to advocate for the spouses as well, because we are sensitive to, kind of a large number of moves and what happens with that, right? Your regards to your career. What I would just say is if you want to connect, please look at everything in the chat and please connect that way. And I highlighted that Mackenzie and Teague, who was not able to be on here today, they host bi-weekly fireside chats or fireside flight chats with potential veterans. And so you can register your interest and they'll send you a link and you can have a little bit more one-on-one time to dig in on all those aspects. If you don't feel like you're a SkillBridge or a MOLP, and you're looking at that direct hire route, we are advocating for all veterans to be in the organization. And the last thing I just want to kind of double click on, I put it in the chat. It's not just the salary population. It's not just the officers. We have A&P technicians. We have welders. We have people in the shops turning tools that are working on the airplanes. We have field service reps. So please don't think if you're not an officer or an enlisted with a degree that there's no place at GE Aerospace for you. That's absolutely not the case. So I want to make sure that I cover that we run the gamut of hiring.
We do. And it's hard to pick panel members. And so you've got the group that you have, but I promise if you're if you're a maintainer and you work with your hands and you want to keep doing that, we have a place for you. And if you are pivoting from, working in the shop and want to do something in the more office space, there's a place for you as well. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. So we have 2 minutes left. Susan, is there anything we've missed? I want to give you a chance. I know that you said that you may have other questions that could come up.
There was one question about the culture, and I know you all spoke about the culture and how it's so inclusive of you and supportive of you, but this question speaks to some of the executive orders around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just wondering how does GE Aerospace handle that and still remain true to its values as an organization?
Oh, what a great question. I love it. Jennifer, I can tell you want to answer, and Jennifer is well trained to talk through this. So Jennifer, why don't you take over, my friend, and take that one?
Yeah. And so we've talked a lot about culture. So GE at its core is an inclusive company. We value the different aspects that everybody brings to the organization, whether you're Hispanic, African American, veteran, woman, disability. We have ERGs that encompass all of that, even a faith ERG, right? An early careers ERG. So I want to make sure that we really think about GE as a large 52,000 employee company, and we have every different type of person in the organization. And it's a very inclusive organization. With regards to the executive orders, it doesn't change the way we do business at all. It doesn't change the way that we hire. We hire for the role. We hire for the qualified skill set. That has not changed in any aspects of the way that we look to hire.
No, thank you, Jennifer. And that's a great way to kind of round out who we are at GE, right? As we invent the future of flight, we lift people up and bring them home safely. But we also value diverse opinions and different ways of thinking. And when she says 52,000 people, that's across the globe. We have plants in Singapore. We have plants in Mexico. We're everywhere. And because our customers are everywhere, we need to have that different ways of seeing the world. And so we value all people. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. So I think we're up on our time. Susan, thank you so much for having GE Aerospace today and Academy Women. It's just a pleasure to get to see you all, and let's stay connected. Please register on that link that Mackenzie put in the chat, and maybe you'll meet Mackenzie on a one-on-one sometime soon in the future.
Well, I'd like to formally thank you all for being here and sharing your personal and professional stories about life at GE Aerospace, and sure does sound like an amazing place. So thank you, thank you. Upcoming events, I encourage everybody to join Academy Women. Check out our website. We have an event on 17 July as part of our Officer Women Leadership Symposium, followed by a pregame event on the 29th of July, and then something every month culminating in our career coaching workshop on the 7th of November. So join us there, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.